We're going to kick off the show with a little bit of news from the coaching carousel in the NHL. You're reporting about, half an hour ago that it sounds like the Flyers and Rick Tocchet are getting close.
Yeah, they're in the final strokes of this negotiation to land Rick Tocchet as head coach. Not officially official yet, but definitely trending in that direction. I don't have any hesitation that this is a deal that will come together, and it's going to be a massive deal at that. I'm expecting at least a 5-year deal and north of $25 million in total value. So a big step up from the Philadelphia Flyers to go out and get the guy that they believe is their number one target and the guy that can help return this franchise to glory, because it's kind of feels like it's been since Rick Tocchet was a player, the early 2000s. Yes, there was a run when the Flyers did get to the Stanley Cup final in 2010. But it's mostly been in fits and starts for this organization since then. And they're looking to take steps forward. They're looking to get back on track, and a return to not just glory, but the first step in that process is relevance. So Rick Tocchet will certainly be a name that reverberates in the Philadelphia market. And with the term and dollars that they're giving him, they clearly have their sights set on him being a long-term solution for this team.
Stability, the word, and with Danny Briere as the GM and now Tocchet, are all signs indicating Tocchet will be behind the bench for the foreseeable future. I like that with that young core kind of coming in. They have this one, or the two pillars, I should say, of stability in their front office and behind the bench. He returns to the organization that drafted him in 1983. He played north of 500 games for the Philadelphia Flyers when you include the playoffs as well. Frank, is it fair to say that Tocchet kind of also always had his eye on the Flyers? Like, were they his number one choice? Did he have other options?
He definitely had other options, pending offers from Seattle, I think from Boston. I think there were other teams that were also in the mix. The Anaheim Ducks, he was a finalist for. Look, I think he had plenty of choices. Could have also went and been a 7-figure analyst for TNT. So he had tons of choice. I think the Flyers, for a lot of different reasons. I mean, look, you mentioned his playing career. He's in their Hall of Fame. This is a guy who has deep ties to the organization. And beyond that, there's a lot of trust that he has in the hierarchy of the front office, in his close relationship with Keith Jones going back to their playing days. So this is an organization that he knows, a market that he understands, and a front office that he has trust with. It checks a lot of those boxes. I think the one big thing missing is that, look, unlike Vancouver, where they got to Game 7 and were close to getting to the West Final last year, this Flyers team is probably multiple steps away. And so he has to see that vision as well in order to be the guy that accepts this role.
Let's talk a little bit more about how this Flyers team could look to build real quick. Not to do the full offseason preview now, but Danny Briere has 7 draft picks in the first 2 rounds this upcoming June. He's got $24 million in cap space with pretty close to a full roster already under contract. Does this Tocchet hiring indicate that maybe the Flyers are ready to push down on the gas a little bit here this summer?
I think it does. I don't think they have any designs on, as good as the 2026 draft is, being in a position to be a lottery team. They want to take an important, significant step forward. I think they're going to leverage those draft picks that they have to try and make trades. I think they're going to be out there as well, trying to spend some of that cap space and utilize and leverage that. They've never been a team that's afraid to spend, as evidenced by this hiring. And I expect a significantly aggressive summer for the Flyers from that standpoint.
Let's stick on coaching for a second. Allow me to throw you the biggest underhand lob of all underhand lobs when it comes to hosting. What else you hearing, Frank?
I mean, a lot. I would expect that with Rick Tocchet off the board, that a lot of these teams, I mean, this is a pretty appropriate breakdown of the tiers that these guys are in. I would expect that there's going to be a run on coaches here in the next few days, with teams not wanting to be left holding the bag. Rick Tocchet off the board. We mentioned Joel Quenneville in Anaheim. Of course, Mike Sullivan was also in that shot caller category, him going to the Rangers. Now what? What's next? I would imagine that Jay Woodcroft is the next guy off the board, and I would point toward the Boston Bruins as being a real strong fit. But then you've got some other really interesting candidates, including some that their teams are still playing, that teams are waiting to find out. And the other thing too is, now with Rick Tocchet in Philly, is Adam Foote getting another head coaching job, or is his top defensive assistant coming with him to the Flyers.
Yeah, very interesting to see what happens in Vancouver. So there's still 5 vacancies around the NHL officially, you could say, with Pittsburgh, Chicago, Vancouver, Boston, and Seattle. And then I guess the one that we're just kind of keeping an eye on out in the corner is the New York Islanders, obviously, as they
And the
continue
LA
their
Kings.
and the LA Kings. That's a good point with Jim Hiller. So it's at 5 right now. Could balloon up to 7. We'll see how things break in the next couple of days. But the big story today is that the Philadelphia Flyers have landed Rick Tocchet. Let's go to our daily Faceoff inbox question, Frank. Hashtag AskDFO. We got a Bruins fan in the chat here who wanted to ask a little bit about the Bruins' plans to find a centerman. They said the Bruins have all these picks in the next few rounds, or in the first 2 rounds of the drafts the next few years. Do you think they'll use them to try select a centerman or use them to try trade for a centerman, Frank?
My guess would be to try and select a centerman because they've had some pretty decent luck doing that later in rounds. I think the tough part about trying to figure out the Boston Bruins center position is that the team itself, the front office, doesn't seem to indicate that it's as big a need as I see on paper, as many see. And I think that part is tough to balance. Like, if they don't see it as a huge need, how aggressive would they be in going out to fill it unless they're just playing coy?
What's up, hockey fans? If you enjoyed that video, then you need to be hitting the subscribe button right here at Daily Faceoff. Exclusive interviews and analysis from our hockey insider Frank Seravalli, fantasy updates from Brock Sagan, and a daily live show at noon Eastern, Monday through Friday. You don't want to miss any of the fantastic content, so hit that subscribe button.